enough to come up here, son. Gordon, you can't come up. You can't come up here. Oh my goodness. I guess you can come up here.
God has truly been good. God has truly been good.
Wow, I cannot believe that it's been a year since receiving some of the most challenging and difficult news that I had ever received. We were at our appointment. This was our, I guess, 24-week appointment, 25-week appointment. And Maurice and I, we had so many wonderful appointments, so many great appointments. We would just go in and laugh, and we were known for that amongst the sonographers and the doctors that we were seeing at the time. And we were in that room, and the sonographer seemed a little bit different. She went and told the doctor came in, Dr. Beeman. And she came in and she said, well, why don't you just get dressed and then come into my office? And when she said that, I just knew that something was wrong. So Dr. Beeman begins to explain, with such drastic growth delay, she's just not sure if this twin bee is gonna make it. Our hearts just dropped or stopped. Well, not stopped, thank God, but our hearts just dropped, and we just didn't know what to do with this news. She said, the reality for you all is you're carrying twins. One is very healthy. There are no problems. One, if he continues to grow at this rate, could possibly be a stillborn child. The other thing was you're pregnant with twins, so you cannot try to only save the baby that potentially has a problem or the baby who is completely healthy. So what do? You try to save both, but you really want to focus on the one that's healthy because you don't want to risk the healthy child's life for potentially saving a child that may not even be born breathing. And so and this is very challenging to talk about. And so with almost tears in her eyes, she said, I'm gonna give you guys 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, I'm gonna bring you back here. This was a Friday, May 19th. I'm going to bring you back here and you might be having babies that day. We don't know what's gonna happen with your twin B, but twin A at that point will be at least viable. When we went back for the 2 weeks, we saw another doctor. These are our MFM doctors. I guess I'm picking up little pieces of the story as I go through. But we saw another MFM doctor. Her name was Dr. Muhammad. Dr. Muhammad ended up being Dr. Beeman was our first angel. Dr. Muhammad ended up being our angel. So Dr. Muhammad was, oh my goodness, our angel. She came in and she was a straight to the point, not quite as in that sense at that day. We saw it later, but at that day, we didn't see as much of that hopeful, loving, that I'm about to cry with you thing that we had gotten from Dr. Beeman. But Dr. Muhammad was like, we want 2 live babies. I'm gonna help you get to 2 live babies. You're being hospitalized today. She was that kind of, and everyone has their own things, but that's how she was. And so this was June 2nd. So we're here at June 2nd, planning to, mind you, go to the beach for my birthday. When we left there, we said, yeah, we're gonna go in, have this appointment. We already had a hotel booked in Virginia Beach to have like a pre-birthday celebration. We were gonna pick my brother up from school and go. No, not at all. So we get to the hospital, and this is where it became a little bit more difficult because we were constantly playing a game of, you may have these babies today, you may have them in a month. You may have these babies today, you may have them in, we're gonna try to get you to 32 weeks, so you may have them in 7 weeks. It became a constant back and forth, back and forth. We want to get you here, but we're not sure what we can do. And so it became the back and forth of that whole motion. So I got to the hospital and I got steroid shots. The steroid shots were to, just in case I had the babies, help their lungs be supported, because obviously at this time we were about 26 weeks, between 26 and 27 weeks. So their lungs are not truly developed until about 34 weeks or so. So to help them with their breathing support, their lung support, being able to come into the world if they had to at that time and be able to sustain and to survive. So I got the steroid shots. I got my first boost of magnesium and bolus. One of the craziest feelings ever. So I got that first dosage. Now, later I got I think I ended up getting 4 doses over time at the times that they thought we were going to deliver, and we did not. So that was the first weekend. We had amazing nurses and all of that. And by my birthday eve, which was Monday, June 5th, everything was looking better. So I went home. I was home for my birthday, and at work, I had sent all these emails to HR trying to get things moving, but now I'm back at work. What they said was, you'll come back every other day for well, not every other day, but twice a week for ultrasounds. We went back on that Thursday, and things were looking good. The flow was a little less than it was on Monday, but it was still positive flow. By the following Monday, when it was time for us to go back on June 12th, we were back to a reverse end-diastolic flow. What does that mean? That means we're back in the hospital, monitoring, possibly delivering, and that whole thing that we're on. I'm still on Viagra, I'm still taking baby aspirin, and now we're back in the hospital. And from that point, it was just monitoring, constant monitoring. I was on monitoring 3 times a day. So they would come in at various times, see how the babies were looking, and if they looked good, they would say, you know, we're looking good. Dr. Muhammad was very adamant about the fact that when I came in this time, I would not be going home, because she wanted 2 live babies, and the only way that she could guarantee that was if I was at the hospital, where they could do something if something changed, shifted, or happened and went left. And I don't think in that moment, I think Maurice and I were so just not wanting to be in that situation and not wanting to have a special high-risk pregnancy. But I appreciate how adamant she was at this point, much more than I probably did in the moment. So several times we were taken back and forth to labor and delivery when they thought it was going to be the day. This might be the day, that might be the day. More magnesium, more steroids. I had 2 doses of steroids. So the first one that I mentioned, and then the second one a little closer to the baby's birth. And that whole thing went on for about 3 weeks. And after a week of the 3 times a day monitoring, we went to 24-hour monitoring, which meant that I was always strapped down to the bed with the monitors that they use, and always just being watched, because Winston's heart rate would drop way down, and we don't want his heart rate to drop way down, because if his heart rate goes that low, we may not be able to get him to delivery fast enough. Something might happen in the process. He might go into distress, and that could just go further into the vein of having a stillbirth. And so the other thing was that if there was ever a reverse in the ductus venosus, for those that are having ultrasounds right now, you may know what that is, but the ductus venosus is a very vital area when you talk about the fetus as well. And so thankfully we never got to that point. But the other point that Dr. Muhammad always made sure that we knew was that we are also being monitored and having so many ultrasounds just really daily at this point, because if there's ever a reverse in the ductus venosus, you only have 24 hours before it is fatal. And that really says you will definitely have a stillborn child. During that time, they also told us that there may be chromosomal issues and all of these things. We went through so many tests, and nothing ever came back positive. We never saw anything. We had a baby that couldn't grow as he needed to in the womb, and that could become fatal. But we wanted to find that perfect balance between the two, and we had a great team to help us figure out what that was. So on the night of June 26th, all through the night, Winston's heart rate would go way down, and we were able to read the monitors at this point, so we would understand when it went way down, when it went way up. Way up, not good. Way down, not good. Either one represents distress, similar to us. If you have high blood pressure and something's going crazy, you know, your heart rate would go way up or way down. Either way, it's not good. You just gotta be more steady, more consistent. So that night, things were very sporadic, very strange, very crazy. And around 4 o'clock, they came in and said, things have been really crazy. I said, do you guys need something? When they came in, because I would wake up every single time a nurse came in, smiling. I said, do you guys need something? What's going on? She said, yeah, his heart rate has been really low tonight. It's been going, you see all these dips? And she went back and showed me the tracking from all night. And I called Maurice, and he came up, and thus began the journey to labor and delivery. Well, not labor, I guess. Well, I guess it's still labor and delivery. And the twins were born on the 27th, and it was amazing. So we waited. The doctors that were on duty that night wanted to do it. I said no. We waited until Dr. Muhammad walked in. She opened that door and said, today is the day. She came to my bedside, and I know I've said throughout this video so many times, I will never forget it. And I mean it. I will never forget these things. She stood by my bedside and she said, do you remember what I said when I first met you all? That we wanted 2 live babies, that our goal was to have 2 live babies, and we would do whatever we had to do to ensure that goal. This is that day. This is the day we've been planning for. And I looked at her and I said, okay, today is the day. And we got ready quickly and kicked a couple. A couple was supposed to be the first C-section of that day, and they gave us the first spot. They gave us the first spot. So I got my spinal and all of that, and we had a crying, screaming baby at 8:57 a.m. and a crying, screaming baby at 9 o'clock a.m. It was such a miracle and a blessing and just a joy. So a year ago from today started something that we didn't know what story we'd be telling now. Through faith and prayer, of course, we knew that we'd be having a hopeful story to share, but the reality of things is that sometimes you don't know when you are faced with such challenging and difficult news. Sometimes you don't know how it'll be. So a year later, being on this side of it is just such a blessing, and we are so grateful.